Oh, thank you for coming back to Crush'em TV. Remember to hit like and subscribe if you like the conversation, what you're hearing here, and make sure to check out all the other videos on the channel. I've got an interesting story here that I found from the Independent Journal Review. The lady on the left up there, she actually lived back in Nazi Germany. And you've heard liberals compare Trump to Hitler. So they decided to ask a woman who was actually born in Nazi Germany and experienced it firsthand. So, this is a very popular talking point on the left, and it's a common resort that Antifa and BLM now resort to is everybody's a Nazi, everybody's Hitler. Trump's a Nazi, and anybody that supports him, you gotta be a Nazi, never mind if the shoe actually fits. So, they ask her. Her name is Marian Ingeborg Andrews. She now goes by Inga. She was born in Dusseldorf, Germany in 1940 while Hitler was in power. While most kids were playing with friends, Andrews was hiding in air raid shelters and helping to clean up the rubble from destroyed buildings to rebuild her city. Andrews said, "What is going on in this country is giving me chills. Trump is not like Hitler. Just because a leader wants order doesn't mean they're a dictator." It seems to be confusing to the left. What reminds me more of Hitler than anything else isn't Trump. It's the destruction of freedom of speech on the college campuses. The agendas fueled by the professors. Hello, Antifa and BLM. That's how Hitler started. He pulled in the youth to miseducate them, to brainwash them. It's happening today. Andrews drove home her point even further for the younger generation. It saddens me that we are teaching garbage in the schools and in the college. We don't teach history anymore. History repeats itself over and over. The kids out there today haven't ever lived through a war like I did. I remember sitting in a rock pile, cleaning rocks to rebuild Germany. I remember eating maple leaves and grass to survive, because food became sparse. She later made it to the U.S. when her mother married an American, but her journey wasn't without hurdles. It took 6 years because she had worked in Germany. It took 6 years to clear her to be able to be married. Then when you married an American, because we were the enemy, you had to wait. Just like they're suggesting now with Syria and some other countries. We had to go from Heidelberg to Bremerhaven, where another camp was. This camp was run by the U.S. military. They vetted us in both places. There were all these German brides with their children and families who had to be vetted again for 3 or 4 days before they could get on the ship. The ship we took was the USS Washington. We arrived in New York in March of '53. My mother, Meta Weinbach, and I still had the last name Mueller. So we had a vetting process like what we are going through now, because you have to have this to make the country safe. Now here's a lady that went through it on the receiving end, having been through similar junk to what we're going through. She understands. Then Andrews had some choice words for the protesters in the streets destroying property, Antifa and BLM. America needs to grow up. The young people who are rioting and destroying property, who have no respect for elders and freedom of speech. I was so proud to become a citizen of this country. Which is absolutely opposite of the way Antifa and BLM act towards our country. She then opened up about how she accepted American culture and values. Andrews continued on about her desire to become an American. At school, they put me in first grade, even though I was a teenager, because I didn't speak English. The teachers would take time at their lunchtime to teach us how to speak English. But they came to find out that I was hiding in the bathroom stall with my legs up, eating my Braunschweiger and onion sandwich so nobody would talk to me. Still, I had a burning desire to be an American. I went to night school to learn English. I would practice English without a German accent. I didn't want to be German. I wanted to be an American. Now you see, right there is a stark difference between her, who was an immigrant, coming here, because she knew that where she was from wasn't as good as here, where she's going, and she respected that. So you'll see in a moment here. When I was 14, I was working in a drugstore reading comic books. Through reading comic books, I developed my English skills. We would go to the malls, and we would not speak our foreign language. We would speak English, because we believed we needed to honor the country that opened its doors for us. It was rude to do otherwise. Now that's the absolute opposite attitude that you see from some of the immigrants today. And typically that attitude comes from illegal immigrants, not legal ones. Legal immigrants tend to have a whole different attitude towards the process. They know where they came from, they know where they are, and they tend to really respect the opportunities that they have in this country, and to cherish them. It seems to be primarily the illegal crowd who thinks they don't need to obey any laws, that come here and then expect the country to change to them, that now they expect us to speak their language or to write everything in their language instead of learning the language of the land. But you can see this lady, having went through the same, similar, or worse thing than what they did, has an entirely different attitude. And it's all about respect and education. Andrews returned to the present day with a message for those attacking freedom of speech, Antifa and BLM. Professors should not be telling their students to go after freedom of speech. They should be telling them that this is the greatest country in the world. The demonstrators can't tell you why they're demonstrating. I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I just want the country to be at peace. I see what is happening here reflecting some of the things that we saw in Germany, and it's terrifying. It's sad. But it's not because of Trump. It's because of poor education, which I've said time and time again in my videos. Trump is not like Hitler. The theory that he is propaganda. Yes, I lived through some of Nazi Germany, but all you have to do is read some books about that period to see how wrong that theory is. So what she's saying is that if you have any education about Nazi Germany, and if you know anything about Nazis, and really understand them, you know Trump doesn't have anything in common with them. She finished by sharing a personal story. I had an aunt who was in the Olympics. My aunt got all this extra stuff from Hitler and was surrounded by this propaganda. She said before explaining how she could not keep a relationship with her aunt because her aunt was constantly submerged in this propaganda that they got from Hitler. I couldn't have anything to do with her. Even after the war, she was calling the Jewish people of whom I was friends with dirty Jews. My point in saying all this is that if people aren't able to see outside of one world view, that is what happens. They buy the propaganda, and that's what is happening today. And if people aren't educated properly and given the ability to think freely, we will repeat that history. So what she's saying there is that if you think like Antifa and BLM and you want to shut down free speech, that you end up right back where the Nazis are. She is comparing Antifa and BLM and their tactics to Nazis. Just like I do in my videos, I repeatedly say again and again, They are the fascists. They are the Nazis. They are the ones exhibiting all the behaviors that they claim everybody else is. This lady that was there, that lived it, backs me up. So now, because of her story, people have inquired into the authenticity of it. They actually, even though she's got all the ancestry and the marks, people, tried to claim that she wasn't telling the truth. So she's provided the Independent Review Journal with pieces of proof to back up her claims. And there we go. Here is her mother's passport, and you can see there, I can't pronounce that, I'm not going to try to. It has the appropriate mark for the time period. This is inside, it's stamped, that's the pass, all the appropriate stamps through there, there's the numerical number. If somebody has access to that kind of database, they could even pull it up. Evidence of their time in Heidelberg, right here, with again all the appropriate stamps. You can see the papers watermarked, and you can see detail of the printing. This is Inga with her father Heinz Muller during World War. She was just a little bitty girl. I don't know for sure if her father survived. But upon sending these pieces of proof to back up her story, Andrews told us it's exactly what I've been saying. Some people want to see through one worldview, so they couldn't even believe the story that I lived. So the Antifa and BLM types chose not to believe her, so she had to back it up with all of this, because they have it so ingrained in their mind. Trump is Hitler, Trump is a Nazi, blah blah blah. They've swallowed so much Kool-Aid and propaganda that she actually had to back it up with this. I mean, the fact that it was an old lady with, an appropriate accent and history, wasn't good enough for him. She had to go that far. So right there you have it from the horse's mouth that, someone that had first-hand experience of Hitler and the Nazis, that the ones exhibiting Nazi behavior and Nazi tactics and Nazi thinking and ideology is not Trump. It is not Trump supporters. It is Antifa and the BLM with their shutting down, free speech, saying that they want to rip up the Constitution. They're the ones that exhibit the socialist behavior. And contrary to what the media tells you, the Nazis are socialist, which makes them extreme left, not right. They keep trying to push that just because of their skin tone, because they were white guys, that somehow that makes them far right. They're not. So anyways, think about that, pass it around, educate the people that you know that need to be educated. She was a good lady that went through some rough times. So you have a great day, take care, and tune back in.